Hello. How is everybody tonight?
Good.
Good.
This is our running crew. Is this the OG? The OG 3, and then there was Shan was the 4th.
Yep.
So this is it. I am your King Ginger, your person who's been lucky enough to do 2 long campaigns with you 3 on stream, both Domains of Dread and D&O. So I am going to shut up and let you guys introduce yourselves and your characters, and we're gonna get into this bad boy. We're gonna wrap things up.
All right. I am Nate, playing Otterkin Rogue Twig Swiftstrike, also a warlock. I always forget that. I don't know why. Eldritch Blast.
Fair enough.
I am Cassandra. I play Amulet Sticky Fingers, who is everyone's favorite Kender Barbarian. Or maybe the only Kender Barbarian you've run into.
Fair enough.
Why not both?
Could be both.
Could be both. Could be both. I'm Warrior. I play Monty Montgomery Burnside. He's a arcane archer fighter / artificer. And I also play Akko, who is a fighter / paladin.
These are factual things I cannot deny. So our game begins with give me a second here. I'm having a little bit of a brain fart. Our game begins with Joshua Bigsby, Snicked, and Leona in the marketplace. As they're wandering through, and they move around to attempt to find these sands of time, Leona feels drawn to a stall. And she makes her way in. And as she looks in this tent, she's looking around, and there is a hooded figure who appears to be the proprietor. Woo, can't get words out. Didn't realize I'd be this verklempt. And they are looking around, and they eventually just go to the proprietor, who you can't see hands, you can't see face, you can't see anything. And asks about the sands if they have any sands of time. The head turns, and they look over across the room, and there's a full standing mirror. Leona makes her way over and notices as she approaches the mirror, the background changes. And it is sand on the other side. It looks almost like a non-conflagration version of the plane of elemental fire near the city of Brass. City of Brass.
Yes.
Yeah, yeesh. She looks back, and the proprietor nods, and she slowly, tentatively pushes her hand into the mirror, reaching down to touch the sand to grab a handful. And as she touches the ground, the mirror eats its way up her arm, pulling her into the mirror. She's stunned by this. She realizes she's on the other side of the mirror. And the illusion of the desert dissipates. And instead, it's a room, a gilded room, looking very much like another gilded room in a mirror we've seen before. Except for inside this gilded room is a finely dressed individual. The clothes look a little old, but they are extremely kind of in that high fashion Victorian style. The only thing that's wrong with this is the head is skeletal and there's no eyes. They're running a metal file over their skeletal fingers. When they finally look over and see Leona, they stand up, straighten their jacket, give a low bow, and lets them know that your friend, she saved me a long time ago. I was imprisoned in a book, believe it or not. And out of that respect, I'm saving you. Now, granted, I don't know how much of it is actually saving, but at least it'll be quiet. And he walks right out of the mirror. And then the mirror tips over. Joshua Bigsby and Snikt are looking now in earnest. Oh no, Snikt is looking in earnest for Leona. Sorry about that. When he sees Joshua Bigsby walking down the promenade of the marketplace, holding hands with a woman in golden robes adorned with serpents. And she comes up to Snikt, and she very plainly, calmly asks where Leona is. And as she stands there, she kind of looks around for a moment, and she starts to shudder. And every magic user in this area starts to scream, fall and writhe. And their magical energy begins to get pulled directly into her. She looks down at the two young people. She looks just as frightened as they are. She bends to one knee and she says, I need you to trust me. She wraps them in her cloak and they disappear just as the price master literally turns into dust. In the sea and in the plane of elemental water, Twig and Monty are waiting for their friend to come out with the deep water. That dog water. I believe you guys were talking to a dragon, if I'm correct. A bronze dragon, was that right? Everybody looks at me like I'm.
It's the silence of everyone checking their notes real quick.
Yeah.
Looks at me like I'd lost my goddamn mind, and I was like, "Did I lose my mind?"
I don't remember, nor did I note a dragon.
I may have completely fabricated that in my mind. I mean, it's, sometimes my brain is just running a million miles an hour.
I feel like Monty and Twig were going to go find, like, I think we got, like, we had just entered the plane. Like, there was no, that was it.
And
Because
Alona had dived off the side, right?
Yeah, she dove off the side because we escaped the glass shark and then the
Perfect.
bigger boat.
Even better.
We were in peril. I was piloting the ship, unfortunately.
All right, so you're floating there. So scratch what I just said about a dragon. And Alona bursts out of the water and scrambles on to the ship. And she's like, flee, 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 flee. And that's when a massive maw comes jutting out of the water. It chomps into the bottom of the boat. This thing dwarfs your boat. You see a massive dragon turtle. What are you doing?
Trying evasive maneuvers. I don't know if that works.
You can try, yeah. Tell me
All
what you got. What you got?
Let me get my helms.
Monty, what are you doing?
I think Monty is he like moves over to Ilona, and I think he is going to if he sees Twig making maneuvers, he's just going to like shoot at this thing, down this thing's mouth.
She hands you the bag of water, like it's just like this weird kind of drinking. What am I trying to say here? It's a
like a wineskin.
Wineskin, or like it's not
water
even,
skin.
Yeah, like a water skin.
Yeah.
And when she hands it to you, you notice like her shape is kind of falling apart.
Okay, I mean, thanks, but I'm not thirsty. Are you okay?
And she looks up at you and she's like, it's what we needed. And she's like, I don't know what's happening to me. And she just sort of turns into water and runs off the side of the deck.
Oh shit. I got a 24 with my helmsman check.
You're able to like pull up and move away as this thing snaps and it breaches out of the water again and barely misses you as your vessel limps into the astral sea. I mean, you're literally your boat's falling apart at the bottom. Things are falling out of it, like it's literally falling apart. You come into the astral sea, and I want you both to make me a history check. Twig, you can substitute your helmsman if you would like.
Okay, 26.
14.
So Monty, like you're like looking around like, okay, that was messed up. What just happened? And like something doesn't look right at all. I mean, you know that the astral sea is not a consistent thing, but it looks strange. Twig, as you're using the helm and you're trying to find like universal points of reference, there are none. And you leave the helm, you come up to the deck, and you notice the astral sea is becoming empty.
Oh, that's not good.
The color, the motes, everything is just slowly fading into black.
I don't know how we're going to get out of here.
And your ship is barely able to move. Even when you're at the helm, it's just your ship's damaged so much. Amulet, you and Krellis have been able to secure I'm trying to remember what it was all of a sudden.
Electrum.
Electrum. Enough. As you do so, and you begin to make your way out under fire, you see one just being harangued by 20, 30 of these flying units. And that your ships, your little ball ships, have kind of gotten away from you and are just kind of floating out into the astral sea. He's able to do quite a bit of damage and come and he literally just picks you and Krellis up because he's massive.
Mm-hmm.
He drops you on top of one of the ships, like you have to get your own way in.
Okay.
He reaches in and with a pair of his small arms, he opens up his chest cavity and spills out what looks like about the size of a volleyball of goo covered in a chitinous shell, and drops it into Krellis's lap. And she kind of looks up at him, and he looks down at you with his many faceted eyes, and he says, "Return this one to this one's mother."
Okay.
And then turns and flies directly into the hive.
Jeez Louise.
Just like a whirlwind of claw and scythe. And you look tighter in, and there's a tiny grub moving inside this. You're able to get inside your vehicle. And as you're moving away from this hive site, there is a massive explosion. And as you both are able to look back through this sphere, you see where you were completely on fire, falling apart. The moat itself is falling apart. Krellis looks at you and she just says, "Did he just kill himself?"
I think he sacrificed one to save many.
"Then what's this?" And she holds it up and shakes it.
Don't shake it. There's a baby in there.
She goes, "Oh God," and she drops it and she's like, okay. And she opens her bag of Electrum and says, do you think this is enough?"
I hope so. I think we're good.
You notice she's kind of shell shocked a little bit over the fact that he just literally just pulled his guts out and then turned and flew right back into it.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't really give her time to react when the Nogri vessel sends a spear through the side of your ship
Oh no.
that goes right through her.
Oh no.
She looks down and there's a part of a barb sticking out of her, and she just looks at you as blood starts leaking out her mouth, and she's like, "That can't be good." And you see this Nogri spider ship is on fire, and the back half of it literally has been sheared off. There's just nothing there. And that's when you notice that looks weird. There's literally nothing behind it. It's just black. And the blackness just slowly creeps forward, eating more of the ship and everything else.
Can I drive the ship? Is there a boost on the ship?
Yeah, you are moving the ship, but it is crawling.
Okay.
And you feel a pair of arms around you. And you fall asleep. Twig and Monty, you are both seeing this wall of black. It's coming. And you have a moment where you're like unsure, and then that pit in your stomach just drops out. You realize what this is. This is the end.
Can I grab Monty and try to teleport away?
Good point. You grab Monty. And as you grab Monty, something grabs you.
Ah!
Both of you. And you
What?
slump into sleep. On Storm Song, there is been kind of a continual remaking after the war, and Charity has been spearheading this, and Charette has taken over control of the Stone Grid. As this goes on, all of a sudden the grid stops working completely, and that means every floating city begins to tumble. As that happens, Charity tries to get as many people to a portal she keeps in her home that leads back to Liminal. But as she gets there, the portal's gone black. And like almost like a version of like a black goo, and it just slowly envelops the portal, and out of it steps a person. Cocks her head to the side, and a less black smile appears, and they just start to what you would assume would be laughter if it wasn't just a cacophony of sounds that shouldn't exist. And she hears a familiar voice none of you have heard since you lived in Sigil. Poltlish says, I told you it would come to this. And the blackness envelops all of Stormsong, shrinking around Charity as she realizes this is over. And a pair of arms wrap around her, and she falls to sleep as the blackness envelops her. Akko and Kellic move through the crematorium in Sigil, looking for any evidence that maybe, just maybe, Presto is here or his remains, because that's the rumor, and that's all you have to go on. And that's when Kellic looks down and at his hands, and they start to wither. And he looks at Akko and says, that can't be good. And eventually just turns into he like ages 100 years in like a minute and a half. The last thing he does is he puts his hand on your shoulder, Akko, and almost comes in like he's going to hug you, and he just turns into an empty husk of his robes. Screaming starts outside, and when you walk out of the crematorium into the streets of Sigil, it is absolute chaos. And in the middle of the donut sphere that is the city floats the Lady of Pain. And you realize something is incredibly wrong. You feel a tug on your arm, a familiar tug. And a familiar voice says, "It's okay. Don't be afraid." And Sigil ends. And you realize as everything is enveloped in darkness and in blackness that nothing will remain of you, not even a memory. In Avernus, Savannah sits with her father, and they're working on a war machine. When the fighting on the lines of the Blood Wars just stops. And the forces of the elemental chaos of the abyss retreat for the first time ever. She looks at her father, who looks confused, as Tawny walks into the room, puts his hand on Drot's shoulder, looks at Savannah, leans down and smiles and says, "It's going to be okay." And everything ends. In the science hall in Liminal, Snikt and Joshua Bigsby pop into existence inside the robe of Hecate. They look across the room, and the drifter, unstuck in time, it's become, everything came too late. They're unraveling time and everything in it. They get to see Jacob Strongbrew literally turn into Brutus. And Brutus just starts smashing everything, becoming more and more savage every second, almost reverting into not even just an orc, but something far more terrifying. The Shedu can no longer hold the wall that keeps out the far realm. And things without name and number erupt out, destroying absolutely everything, consuming things like life unbound. And at the same time, Liminal just keeps getting smaller as a blackness replaces the green shield and begins to make everything disappear. Hecate leans down and gathers together the materials that she was bringing. She looks at Snikt and she looks at Joshua Bigsby. And she tells them that they were too slow and they lost. That this is the end. However, it doesn't have to be the end permanently. She casts a spell, and Joshua Bigsby forms around Snikt a egg, an armor, a rocket, whatever you want to call it. She pours all the remains of her magical energy, the Maiden of Magic, and she throws them through the dark as it swallows everything. A blinding light, a ship, a last hope, erupts out of the blackness that has swallowed everything, unmade absolutely everything, and pierces into a nothingness of white. All of you wake up in the Dreamlands. sitting with Bosano. And she says, I couldn't get everybody, but I got you. And I can't fix this. This is temporary. But I can give you somewhere else, someone else. But it'll be up to you if it's your forever. And you see the black, like clouds, slowly creeping over the dreamlands. On the other side is just white. Not, it's just infinite and forever. And she puts her hands out as if to hold them. Hold your hands and walk you all forward. She's like, you can come with me or you don't have to. It's up to you.
But there has to be some way we can stop it, right?
No. We weren't ready. And then things happened and the adults weren't ready. And this place lost. I'm sorry.
How many did she save? Is it just us?
You four. She couldn't get Erlin. She couldn't get anybody else. Rosine, she literally saved you four.
How do we escape this?
We walk, and she points to the white. I don't know what it is, but I know what that is. And she looks over her shoulder. And again, like this wall cloud of nothing is slowly moving.
Well, we better get walking.
I mean, it's better than that, so let's go.
She walks with you, and it feels like forever. But it doesn't feel like you moved anywhere. The dreamlands work differently. And you make your way to the edge. And she says, this is it. And she pushes Twig and Amulet in the back.
Ah!
And you fall into the white.
Cannonball!
She turns. She grabs Monty. She hugs you very hard. And then she kisses you on your hippo face and shoves you into the white.
That was my first kid.
You can all see her as she doesn't follow and she waves.
Why
And she
doesn't she follow?
She turns to face the nothing.
Come with us.
You fall for what feels like forever until you fall asleep in this nothing. And then you wake up. Twig, where do you wake up? What is your life?
Man.
Do you want to change that now that you've seen what happens or what?
Well, I mean, I had plans before this happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, all this other stuff just doesn't happen because there goes the world.
No. This is what is your ideal.
Okay.
It has nothing to do with what just happened.
All right.
The only thing is your character knows what happened.
Yeah.
Or just knows that something happened.
Do we believe what we say is going to happen? Do we believe that it's real, or do we always feel like something's not right?
No, it's real.
Okay.
So I feel like Twig would show up in Mystara as it was before all of this. So basically, he's back in his own life. But he feels like it's kind of off. Like he's missing everyone he's known, since that happened. Even though he enjoys and appreciates all his family that's there.
So this is the other thing to remember is, like, you all still can be connected.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is just, you get your ideal ending.
Well, and he's still got his little birthmark symbol thing. So he can, in theory, teleport wherever he wants to go, correct?
Yeah. Once
he figures that out. So he'll have his home, but then he'll have his little he'll have his home, but then he'll have his adventures with friends. Because he can still go and find them, at least the ones that survived.
Everyone survived.
So not just us, literally everything else is there?
Everything you wanted to be there is there.
That's weird. Is the nothingness still there?
No.
Okay, because I don't want it to be there. Well, yeah, because without all that, most of my immediate was figure out what that shit is.
So you have a feeling like there's something you should, like you are driven by gathering some knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what it is. And eventually the Baron comes to you. And the Baron says, you know what it is. You know what that thing is that's dragging at you. You can't quite figure it out what it is.
It's not the list, is it?
It's the list.
That's a big list.
But you know it's at the top of that list.
Calorel the Vile? Yeah, that's a big one. That makes me think of a keep, hordes of undead, and Calorel's prone form. But
keep on the Shadowfell. But you don't ever go on anything blind, Twig. You got to do your research.
Well, that's a long way off, too.
Is it?
I think so.
You take a moment and you blink and you see yourself on the parapets of the keep on the Shadowfell, leading forces in, putting undead down just by the row. And you see Calorel the Vile, Echo at his side, trying to summon Orcus to the Shadowfell to make an easier rip into the prime material plane.
But it's okay, I got an echo. Right?
Do you have an echo?
I hope so.
Warrior?
You can have an echo. The way I wrote Echo's ending, the way that I
not
the way-
a echo,
you can
the
have the
echo. Okay.
you can have the echo. The way I wrote Echo's ending, that actually would work.
So you and Echo, anyone else there with you? Any of your other
I mean, as many as will come.
You all fight a war of attrition on the keep until it comes down to just the primary players. And Calorel looks at all of you with just a tiredness. And says, I don't want to do this. But you don't leave me any other choice. The thing you all notice too is he's gaunt.
Even more than usual.
He looks drained. He looks weak. And the shadow of Orcus pulling himself out of the pit of the abyss behind him, manifesting. Echo beside him, just completely a slavering, raging monster at this point, radiating necrotic energy.
And we can't let you win. You can't do this.
I don't want to win. And he looks over his shoulder at Orcus, whose right arm posts into the Shadowfell and starts to push himself up and through this portal. And then you hear a scream. A horrific, pained scream that eventually dies into a contented sigh. As you see Eric pull his sword out of Calorel's side. Eric looking just beat to hell. And he looks down at Calorel and he says, I told you. And Orcus starts to dissipate. Echo, looking around and realizing there's nothing, dives into the pit and into the abyss. After the conflagration ends, you stand in the keep of the Shadowfell with nothing but the dead finally lying at rest. Eric lies down, and you recognize that he is way too hurt for anyone to save him. He smiles at all of you, and he says, just make sure I get buried home.
We can make that happen.
He smiles, this kind of content smile, and he says, and I don't mean Pasadena. And then he dies.
All right. Well, I guess that's number one on the list now.
Twig, what else happens in your life?
So after that whole thing,
After that whole deal,
that's a lot. Eventually, Twig will settle down with someone we may or may not have met. I don't know. We'll see.
you tell me.
Yeah.
You tell me. I'm not telling you. You're telling me.
No,
I
Twig's
don't
saying
know.
it's a secret right now,
We'll see
Ben.
what happens. I don't know. We will find out eventually. Maybe. But there's a lot of kids. This is like a Catholic family amount of kids.
It's fair. Anything else?
That is it.
Nothing else.
Do you have a suggestion?
Oh, I got more than a suggestion.
Oh, spicy.
After a few years, something shows up at your door.
I open the door. Hello?
And a broken up set of armor being piloted by a green goo. Says, I've come to do your ceremony.
My what now?
Your ceremony. You're not married unless it's in front of Booth of Shaft. It doesn't count.
All right.
And you have a second marriage. You get married again. Same thing, just in a different ceremony. And he stays.
In your spare bedroom.
No, in a bucket, and beside an not an outhouse but an outbuilding by your parents. But if you don't have anything else to add, I won't add anything else to your ending, which I believe brings us to, which order are we going in? Is this just go to Amulet then?
Yeah, we go clockwise. That's our normal order.
I can never remember.
It's always
Amulet.
clockwise.
Amulet, tell me the tale of your ending.
I feel like I should have made it more glorious. I wasn't thinking it should be like that big of an ending, but Amulet does best with a purpose. That's always been her thing. She needs something to do, so Amulet would spend her time back missing her friends, obviously, but the good news is she can go visit them in her dreams. So she does that quite frequently, probably to like an annoying level, mostly to like tell them what she ate that day, because it's really important.
It is very important.
But when she's not sleeping, I feel like Amulet would have not stopped thinking about what happened at what was it called, the market, the eternal exchange.
Yeah.
With Roni and Margaret, knowing that for some reason she's the reason for maybe some big things happening. She can't let that go. So she would meet up. She would find Roni and Margaret. However that happened, I'm not sure how that would happen.
They find you.
Or they can find me. Either
No,
way,
they do find you.
they do find me. And
they find your family first.
and
You come home to go to Sunday dinner, and they're sitting at the table with your family.
Yeah. So Amulet's gonna fix this problem, and she's gonna do it with Dresk as her right hand man. Like, so there's gonna be a lot of side adventures of, because trying to do this, well, probably spying on Archon means gonna need some heavy magic items to like make sure people aren't aware that I'm going to be lying a lot, and so maybe different safety measures to make sure I can't get killed as easily. So there's going to be a lot of like many little side quests of gathering items and maybe visiting charity to build something, if that's possible. Should be possible. And while she's at it, world tour of baked goods. She's got a side blog where she talks about all the food that she eats when she's going to do her little side trips.
It's fair.
But I don't want to determine if she succeeds, because I feel like that could be a great little story to play out. You know what I mean?
So eventually, in Avernus, you lead your friends into the domain of Archon. And he doesn't expect it because you attack him in his dream.
Oh, that's a good idea.
And he never wakes. At the very end, you and Keska kill Archon the Cruel in his sleep. And he never gets a chance to wake again. And
Oh,
his
I didn't think she'd join me. Is she really going to be on my side?
her and her wife Norhand
Norhand. And Dresk has to be there.
and Dresk.
Okay.
And because he wears the hand of Vecna, it falls off. Because he is now basically brain dead.
Aw, but he could be a sticky finger. He could join the group.
Archon?
Oh, not Archon. I thought you meant Dresk. Sorry.
No.
You meant Archon. Got it.
You are able to cut through the disarray to enter into his like inner words, inner sanctum, and you see the hand of Vecna on the floor.
Uh-oh. There's no way to destroy that, is there? If I touch it, it's not going to attach to me, is it?
Doesn't work that way.
Okay, next mission is I'm going to find a place to hide this. I don't know, I got to find a real good place. No one will ever find it.
Did you touch it?
Not directly. I'm going to wrap it with things and not actually touch it.
Okay, you wrap it.
What's the D&D equivalent of the grabbers?
You just wrap it up. Honestly, you can't. You have to cut off your arm and attach it.
Oh, okay, good.
It doesn't work. Like same thing with the eye. You actually have to pop your eye out and put the eye in.
I don't want to do it, and I don't think the people around me would do it, but I don't want to take the risk. So I'm going to hide it on my own.
As soon as you have it in your possession,
okay,
a rip opens up in Archon's tower and out steps Tiamat and her human form.
Oh, shit.
And Tiamat says, "You have cost me a great deal.
Yeah,
you have set me back thousands of years in progress and robbed me of my closest lieutenant. In exchange for me allowing you to leave, you will give me the hand of Vecna." And this is not a forgiveness. This is simply until I come for you on the prime material. You will never know a day's peace.
Good. Glad I got the happy ending. I can't just bamf out of there with this, can I?
I don't know. You tell me.
Well, I can travel in my sleep, but can I travel when I'm awake?
You tell me. You were working on that.
I'm gonna say yeah. Yeah, I can.
Oh yeah, you were like, I don't know about this, and you close your eyes and concentrate, and you step backwards into the dreamlands, and Bosana just plunks all your friends out.
Okay, good.
And you can hear through the plains Tiamat roar.
Yeah, no, I've real pissed her off, so that's gonna be great.
And one of the people that helped you is Valia.
Oh my god, that's a deep cut.
And Valia brings you back before the Shadu. And the Shadu offers you a choice. And see, it's no longer just the Shadu, it's a chorus of Shadu.
Okay.
And they tell you, Tiamat will never stop searching for any of you. But We can make it very difficult.
Yes, that. I want to do that.
By making you all different.
What do you mean?
And your families.
What do you mean different?
We're just going to alter you magically.
Like to everyone else, or physically alter us?
Alter you.
Oh, good.
And the Shadoo tell you in their chorus, but she will always be able to find you as long as you possess the hand of Vecna.
Well, I don't want to possess the hand of Vecna. That's the thing. I want to get rid of it, but
Who would you give it to?
that's my problem. I did not anticipate having this in my possession. I'm trying to think if we've run into anyone that's like truly good.
I mean, the Shadoo are truly good. They're
Do
lawful. Are they lawful good or chaotic good? I can't remember.
Do they want this though?
No, they
They-
want
they-
you to just. They want you to find a place to hide it
I know.
because the longer you possess it, the more it will eventually corrupt you.
No, I want to get rid of it. I want to get rid of it ASAP. I don't know right at this second where to get rid of it though.
I know a guy you shouldn't give it to.
I think I know a lot of people I shouldn't give it to.
And that's where you hear a voice. Well, you could give it to me. And Tani walks forward.
Do I trust Tani?
I don't know, do you? Do you trust me, Amulet? Common wisdom would say you probably shouldn't. However, I am your uncle.
What is your plan with this? No
Well-
lies.
Well, my plan is to take it to Avernus, keep Tiamat occupied, because I'll have it in the same place she is. But she cannot attack me directly, because it will upend the hierarchy of the Nine Hells. Eventually, though, I plan on hiding it in the abyss.
I'm not gonna wear it.
Why would I want to be under the control of someone else?
Good point.
I know what this is, and I know what it can do. And I truly don't wish anyone to have it. And I invite any demon who would want to have it, because it would drive Vecna crazy.
Okay.
You give it to Tani. He opens it up and looks down on it. He wraps it up, and he says, I hope you take the Shadoo on their offer. It will pain me not to see your face or the face of my children again, as you are. But what you have done is a great service to everyone. And you should have the right to be happy. Without the threat of the Queen of Dragons over your head. He leans down, and you've grown. He's still bigger than you, but not by much.
For Kindred,
Yeah,
I mean
for
a little
Kindred.
bit, but yeah.
When he kisses you on the forehead and kisses Keska and Norhand, his other kids, basically, and then he says, I don't know if we'll see each other again, but I sincerely hope we do. Smiles and walks through a gate. And that is the last time you ever see Uncle Tommy.
Can Uncle Tony tell me it's great? Because every time I hear his voice, I picture Tony the Tiger.
It's great. Valia comes forward and she says, she almost wheels forward because she doesn't really have legs. And she's been a great help throughout all this. And it's delighted her greatly. She says, I would take the Shadoo on their offer. Not for you. Not for Keska, not for Norhand, but for their unborn child and your family. She turns and looks at Bargrit and Roni. For your friends. You get to live your life as someone else. And you choose to live it loud, or you can choose to live it quietly, but you get to live it. And I'll always have an eye on you. Because I'll always have an eye on your father.
I don't know if she's hitting on him or she's... Oh, boy. Well, I can't force Keska and those guys to do it, so
They're willing to take your lead on it because they know if one changes, then that just puts more pressure on everybody else to change or have targets on them.
Yeah.
Keska actually is the first one to take it regardless. Dresk agrees and takes it, and so does Norhand.
I mean, I can't force my family, but I imagine if I do it, they'll do it.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah. I don't think I have a choice.
Roni and Bargrit do not.
Oh.
Roni says, I've always been in situations where I've had to change and not wanted to. So if the Queen of Dragons wants me, she can come. And Bargrit just pops her knuckles and says, yeah. And that's the last time you see Roni or Bargrit. So what does Amulet become?
You gotta give me time to think about that one. I don't have an answer today on that.
Okay, well, you can be, like I said, whatever you want.
Yeah.
But Basana bids you farewell. And you all leave the Dreamlands to your lives.
Cool.
All right. Where do you want to start, Warrior?
Oh, let's start with Monty.
All right. Start with Monty.
So Monty wakes up on Cronus, and Cronus is still ruined. It's still what happened to Cronus happened to Cronus, and he is there with his parents, and they have already constructed some prototypical sort of domes, for lack of a better word. So they are, I think Victor's there also. And
is Victor and the Hunger separate now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. They have figured out how to resolve that. And I think like Monty and his parents like help that process along. And so they
Anybody else live there with you guys?
What was that?
Did anybody else go to Cronus with you? Anybody else that you want to?
I think that
because I know one person that would have.
I think Erland comes along. he's into it. I think he's like,
And
liminal
Krellis.
space isn't the vibe. And I was going to say, yeah, Grellis. Grellis also comes, and they begin doing work to, yeah, both rehabilitate and um, make Cronus livable again. And so Monty had already been working on these sorts of, like, for lack of a better word, like shield technologies. And so I think he and they are working at adapting that. So, like, as he becomes a better artificer, as he, like, continues the work, as he works with his parents and learns from his parents and learns from Victor, they begin to rehabilitate Cronus and make it livable. And I think that once it reaches a point that there's enough space for, like, other people, I think that it does become a place for, like refugees. Like, they craft these ships called these crafts called Burnsides that, are able to navigate between the crystal balls and find whether they receive word. I think they probably develop a technology where they can, sort of like scanner technology. They're like intercepting radio, that kind of stuff. I think so, whether they're proactively or sending in response to a distress call. So I think that's how they begin to sort of repopulate the world. And I think that becomes, like, largely his life's work, and I think that as that grows and evolves, his work grows and evolves. I think he still enjoys adventuring, so I think he is certainly, for more dangerous rescue operations and those kinds of things, he does. But I think he's sort of like I think after what happened on Olympus, like, he kind of hit a point where he was, like, not super interested in, like, fighting, like, violence anymore. Like, he just was like, that was, Mars is gross, and, like, I don't like that. And so, like, he can, and he understands that, the nature of things is that he needs to be able to defend himself or others, but he isn't focused on that. So he really becomes much more of a, like, scientist.
Okay. One of the things that happens is on Cronus, a man comes. It's kind of a jolly, round man with a bushy beard, a great big bushy beard, who has a brace on his leg. And he comes to you and your family and he asks to live there. And he lives for about 5 years. And he's an incredible help. And one day it hits you who this is. Hephaestus has been living amongst you for 5 years.
Whoa!
And he eventually pulls you aside and says, I have been watching. And I've come to a decision. Your world is being rebuilt. And what does a world need?
Amusement parks.
That as well. And then you guys spend the next 4 days making designs. And then you come back to your conversation. He says, worlds, I have learned in my infinite lifespan, worlds do not need gods. But worlds need ideals. And the best way to manifest ideals is in a personage. And he reaches inside of himself. And it's like when he does this, like him reaching inside of himself is like you standing as close as you've ever been able to a blast furnace. And he pulls light out and he touches you. Knocks you flat on your ass. He looks down and he says, "Rise, Montgomery, God of ideas." He says, "You are as of to me as a son now. Act like it." And he smiles very big. And he reaches down, he packs up all of his tools, and he puts them in his bag. He says, "I've got things to do. But we'll be speaking soon, I'm sure." And he reaches down and he very covetously grabs all the roller coaster ideas, wads them up, and he's like, "These are mine," and shoves them in his bag, in his satchel, and he leaves. And as you stand there in your moment of godhood, you yawn, exhausted by the process, and slump into your favorite chair in your workshop. And you wake up. And very quickly, because of what you are now, realize you're not home. You're in a facsimile of home in the Dreamlands. And Bosana walks out into your workshop. And she smiles at you and she says, "It's about time." And she walks over to you and she gets down on one knee and proposes.
Yeah, Monty's like, yeah. I think he probably like also gets on one knee because he's like, "I do this."
And Hera appears and makes it official. You are two gods in matrimony. The first two gods of Cronus. As Hypnos returns to take his role as the main god of sleep on Mount Celestia, Bosana now becomes the goddess of sleep for Cronus.
It's dope as
I believe we have one more tale to tell.
We do. So Akko, like,
you know what we did when I cut out and I was definitely going to throw in your lap, but you went in a direction I didn't anticipate?
What's that?
There was going to be some Bagman shenanigans, but
I knew there was. I thought I was like, I was
you
waiting.
Just managed to skirt around it.
It's because I'm a god. So Akko really finds his groove in Sigil. Like he is sort of like he's doing what he wants to do. He's doing what he feels is good and heroic and important, and he understands. I think for like the first time, he understands what he is doing, and he like that drives him even more. And he finds a new non-delusional confidence in that, where he is like,
I love it.
I'm really fucking good at this. And he becomes a faction leader in Sigil.
What'd you say? I lost that for a second.
A faction leader.
Oh,
One of the there's a new faction.
fractal?
There's a new faction in Sigil called the Lost and Found.
Oh,
And Akko is the faction leader, and he continues his work, getting people who don't want to be there back to where they want to be. it's a place of like solace and refuge for people who don't have a place. And sometimes permanently, sometimes transiently. They're just like they're new to Sigil or whatever, and they need to like not get eaten by the city, for lack of a better word. So he does that. He also is working on his collection of keys. So he finds. I think what he does is, I think he spends a lot of time finding ways to home for the people that he knows and loves. So I think he finds a way for Eric to get to Pasadena if he wants, even if he just wants to see it. And I don't
I'll say before Eric goes to keep on the Shadowfell, you do allow him to see Pasadena one more time, and he shows it to Nigella, and she's like, "I kind of get it," and he's like, "Yeah, it's," and then he's like, "Okay, well, let's go, let's go take care of this."
Yeah, for sure.
I owe Calorel.
Yeah. Yeah, like, okay, cool. Like, it's cool to see it again. Like, that's not home anymore, I think would be the
Think
vibe.
about it almost like he just kind of eventually says, he tells Akka this. He's like, I've outgrown this place.
Yeah. So I think he does that, and I think that, he is able to like reconnect with people, that way, whether it's briefly, whether they like maintain a relationship or not, but he, is like, my life is in Sigil now, and this is where I'm supposed to be. This was always where I was supposed to be. And, like it got off track for a while, and then I died, and that sucked, but it helped me find where I belong. So I think that's his thing. Sigil is his thing.
So Akko still lives in Bryland's old apartment.
Oh, absolutely.
Above the prickly vine. With Jun Steele still being his landlord and friend, and you both eventually stop mourning Bryland. It takes a long time, but eventually. You find out that you have been gifted another property down the across the street and down the road. 221B Arnson Boulevard is the old home of Advantage Locksmiths. And this is where you have your agency. Starts off as a detective agency and then becomes something more. It takes you and Kellic a few years to find Presto, but you do. And you bring Presto back. And he's kind of surprised by it, but he's also like wow. But by the time you bring him back, Eric has died. And Kellic says his goodbyes. And the last thing he says before he leaves is, "You damn kids, I've always got to go get you out of trouble." But Presto stays. And for a lack of a better term, Presto becomes your Dr. Watson. And about 5 years later, you hear a knock at the door. And Eric is there with Nigella and their 2 children. And you have this incredible visit. And you find out one of his children is named Akko. And as they finally give pause to leave, and promises are made to visit. You catch a glimpse down the street, like skulking in a hallway or in an alleyway. It's Kellic. And he's got the biggest shit-eating grin on his face. You get a letter from Kellic. It says, all debts are paid. The next time we meet, well, we'll have fun. And your factal is very successful because you are less stringent than many of the others. You receive a call, a message from Tika, who needs help. And you arrive to find a village that's been decimated. And you hear Tika crying. And you see her, and she's hurt pretty badly in a clearing. And Presto tries to stop you and says, this is a trap. I don't know who it is, but this is definitively a trap. And you kind of wait it out a little bit to see what's going to happen. And finally, this thing dematerializes that's holding Tika on the ground. And it's Olkstog. And he smiles and he says, I heard that you were still alive. And yet you never came looking for me. You made me come look for you. You made the son of Ogremok wait. But I have waited long enough. And now finally you might be worthy enough for me to kill. And you have a battle with the literal son of a titan and a goddess, or a demoness. And as you begin to lose, and as Presto casts his last spell, a sword runs right through Ogremok's knee, dropping him into a horrible limp. And you turn and look, and there is a man there wearing a dragon helm and the same colors of Eric's griffin outfit, who looks very much like a darker version of Eric. And you see the portal opened up to bring him here. You see Kellic again, just stepping back into the portal as this person helps you. And together, and with Presto using the absolute last of his magic in his hat, you kill Ogremok. And the man who helps you stands over the body beside you and spits on it and says, I never did forget those teeth you cost me. Turns and looks at you and says, you may not remember me, but I remember you. Bows deeply and says, my name is Eric Dresk. And I heard you might need some good people on your mission. And you realize by the eyes, this is Dresk, and his form he chose was Eric.
Okay.
And he leaves with you. You heal Tika, and she goes with you too because her life there was now over. And you return to your home. And you face all the challenges and glories and weirdness that is Sigil until the end of your days. And eventually, Akko passes. And you die surrounded by friends, by followers, by those who will keep this going. And as you finally slip free of the mortal coil, you hear a voice. I was wondering when you would return. It's been a long time. I'm no longer mad. Irritated, but not mad. Also, mom cook real good. And Stick helps you up, and you're back in Bitopia. And he leads you back to your family's moving home. And you open the door into your parents' abode. And at the table is Brylan. And a few other people you didn't know had passed away that you knew. But the one that surprises you the most is that night, sitting on the porch with your father, is Calorel the Vile. And Calorel says, no, I'm just Calorel.
I love that.
And that's the end. You all awaken. In your beds. In the open house. In Sigil. A bell being rung by Miss Broom telling you it's time to eat and you've all overslept. And you and all of the other students make your way down towards a dining hall that is more massive than it's ever been because there's far more people living in the open house than there's ever been. And as you go, you look up and you see Snicked up in a rafter area, just kind of looking down, like, just looking all over the place. And you're stopped by Joshua Brigsby. And he says, hello, fellow students. And he looks around in almost a conspirative way and says, how much do you remember? And his Warforged face moves into a grin as much as it possibly can. He says, because I remember everything. All of it. And I remember we lost. But we don't have to lose this time.
Do we know what he's talking about?
We do. And that's when the traveler that unraveled walks up the stairs. A massive Goliath. And he leans down on one knee and he says, I am Voran Earthmane. I have traveled through time and space to be here, to ensure we do not lose. For the Unmakers merely scarred my world and attempted to destroy me, but they failed. And I will help you succeed.
Then we got a lot of work to do.
And that's where we end. Ryan, did you get who Voran is? I know Cassandra did.
No.
What if we say Earthman keep?
Drawing a blank.
It's a Chaos Scar reference.
Oh, okay.
Voran was like super wizard in that world who was there to try to stop
That's right.
the
Yeah.
meteor that was the Chaos Scar.
That's right.
Here's
That's
a little tidbit. So in the original Chaos Scar adventure that the Wizards published, the Scar, the meteor, was a piece of the actual elemental chaos. I'm saying that the thing that caused the Scar was a piece of the unmaking.
Ooh.
And Voran survived because he tried to jump in one of his mini portals and instead became unstuck in time. And he's been floating through time trying to find this time. And he has. And he found you and you all. And now you're all back in Sigil.
Hell yeah.
Nice crossover, Boone.
That's dope. I love that. Very cool.
All right. I would like you guys to tell me how great I am. No,
I mean,
So
you're the
great.
best, but we've done that. And you know it.
If I tell you that every day, do I have to tell you on stream too?
no, I'm just kidding.
Yes.
I would like you to tell me what your favorite moment of Down in Outlands has been.
Oh, Jesus.
It can be about your character, or can it be just about a moment or an NPC, or just something. I'm just intrigued to know what is the thing that you will probably remember about this more than anything else.
Pastries.
That's fair. That's fair.
The best food fits in pockets. Pastries,
food.
toast.
Nothing beats the only thing that beats pocket sand is pocket sandwiches.
Pocket sandwiches.
Mm-hmm.
No, I sometimes love when I could take a little something and actually turn it into like a stupid joke throughout the whole thing. So
I think it was a joke. I thought it was awesome.
it makes it funny.
Does anything stand out for anybody else?
Dueling this voices?
I
Mm-hmm.
don't know what you're talking about. I sound nothing like you.
Oh,
Yeah.
I also appreciate when we latch onto certain like NPCs and we can't let them go, like Skitch.
Right.
Hey, Akko got to kill Ogremok.
Yeah.
I knew
Finally.
you want. Yeah, I was surprised that you didn't weave that into Monty's thing, because I remember when Monty met Ogremok and you were like, "I'm gonna kill that guy." in the exchange, you were like, "I'm gonna kill that guy."
Mhm.
I
Okay.
really don't like him. Are you sure it's on the Akko thing? No, that's a Monty thing too. As much as they both want to
It's
kill
a
him.
warrior thing. Fuck. All of my characters. Tiburon's like, I'm gonna kill.
Yeah. Have you guys ever heard of this guy Ogremok? What a fuck nut. If you ever see him, we're killing him.
I
Take
think I
his
just
leg meat.
finished the stupidest story I've ever read. It's about this big bag named Ogremok.
If I see, it's on site. It's on
It's on
site.
site. I will Eldritch Blast him.
Was there anything that jumped out to anybody else that really is like, again, something you'll take away from this ongoing game?
There's
And
honestly too many.
Anybody in the
then.
chat? Anybody in the chat too? Please.
I think for me, like, more than a specific moment, the weaving of the story, how it always tied back in somehow, like, and that was always very poignant to me. They're like, the threads that we would lightly forget about, or thought were gone, like, come back. And I always really appreciated that, and I really liked that. I think one of the bigger ones, and certainly kind of one of the more like grand scale moments were like when we like when Perkins and Jorma like destroyed the house, you know, and we were going through that, and we were like reacting, but also like learning, and also like introducing, and it was such a dynamic, like battle doesn't seem like the right word, you know, like just trial, you know, and that was a very, very cool that was a very cool moment that really weaved a lot back in, you know. And similarly, when, you know, things happened, like when when we first met the Shadu, and then, you know, like there was that huge battle in the Colossus, and, you know, like that, like those kinds of things, like there were, you know, and there were a lot of subtle moments, but there were like these huge sort of like payoff, like turning, you know, the story.
That's where
turned in a
that's
very
where
grand way.
Brylan died.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's where Brylan and Akko died.
One got disintegrated though.
True, Brylan got a little bit. He got the worst end.
He got
the
dead
worst.
bad. Yeah.
He got really dead.
What about you,
But-
Nate?
All the callbacks like inside of this, but then like the external stuff from first group and all that, the people we've met that were either in that or tangentially related, those were always good.
Yeah, I thought it was one thing I wanted. Thank you, James. I really appreciate that. So one thing that I wanted to do was I wanted everything to feel big, but I wanted it to fold back in on itself over and over. Someone made this comment on a thing, and I kind of was like latched onto it. They were like, said something about like when you don't stir something, you fold it and you fold it and you fold it. Like when you're making like is it a meringue, Cassandra?
It could be just about anything. You fold a lot of things, but meringues, yeah.
I was like, I want this to be like this big sprawling thing, but at the same time, like I want it to continually fold back in on itself.
Mhm.
So it also has this like weird familiarity of like, oh, we know that asshole.
Yeah.
Like the universe feels like is a huge place, but it's also a very small place,
Mhm.
because you're operating like in the same place as like all of these other people. So you tend to like run into some of the same folks. And you know, I want to say thank you too to everyone who let me use characters of theirs. You know, Sarah and James and Cassandra. You know, and I'm sure you, Nate. And I'm sure I'm missing a couple people. You know, everything. I mean, Shan let me steal the entire world. So an entire homebrew world, which for the ending of Storm Song, what I'm basically saying is Charity and Leona got to live their happy ever after. Charette stayed and became the Stone Grid. You know. And for Savannah eventually went to Storm Song because that's where Runny was. And this time she didn't stab him.
That's good. Good.
Because that's apparently not what you do.
Not usually.
But I feel like I'm not sure how to explain how something that has eaten up so much of my memory space in my brain, and because like this whole ending, that whole thing, I had kind of wasn't sure what we were going to do. And then the other night, as I was laying in bed, it just like unfolded like a movie.
Mm.
I was like, and this is what happens. And they all get their happy ending, but they also get an open, you know, it's, you know, parallel worlds. It's, you know, what was the show that had Rebecca Romaine's husband in it? Jerry, whatever his last name is.
Sliders.
It's very, you know, much like I was like, well, sure, it's an omniverse, but just because it's an omniverse doesn't mean it can't have parallel worlds. And I also wanted a little bit of a Superman analog of, fucking Joshua Bixby and Snikt being the last sons of a previous fucking omniverse, shot Krypton style into creation. So, which we've kind of played with stuff like that before, like Akko falling into the Well of Worlds.
I'm currently trying to convince Ben for all our like one shots coming up that we're basically like quantum leap it. Like we go and do something and then we go back. I was like, we should be Scott Bakula in threes.
Well, and that's something I want to ask. Is this something you guys want to come back to at any point? I tried to leave it back down to a slate where you get to start. It's still got this potential, omniversal ending threat that you guys now know is truly what it says on the tin.
Mm-hmm.
But we also kind of changed some things up.
Yeah, I'm up for it.
Mm-hmm.
Be down.
Yeah, whenever the mood strikes, we can get the band back together.
I think it'll be it will be in mini series form. Like I said, Colin, in my response to you, and you guys can tell me who played in Domains. I think Domains may have been a better ending, but I'd be more than happy to hear your opinions.
I mean, Domains had a definitive ending that, like, we knew was coming.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it's just different tonally.
Yeah.
I think when you sort of decide at a point, like, this is the story we're telling, and you can work toward that, and you have a few, sessions to kind of like things in place and like get things done. So I think it's like a different vibe,
That's a really good point.
And I think that to say it as diplomatically as possible, I think that there was an amount of catharsis that came with the Domains end that is absent here, which is for the better.
It's so much. It was so much of a more adult story, for lack of a better term.
It was, and it made sense, I think, for those characters. Like, those characters were sort of due.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a horror story.
And,
it really is.
So, it's just totally very different. And I think circumstantially, I think we all really needed that. And this is, it's gentler, it's more open-ended, like, they're kids, so the world's their oyster, so like, so I don't know that I would compare them.
Okay. Thank you.
No,
Thank you.
they're different. Yeah, this definitely feels more like a reboot than an ending. It doesn't feel like a.
So here's another thing. You guys have dibs. My first miniseries is going to be called "If I'm Me and You're Me, Then Who the Hell Is That?" It is a Marvel multiverse game. I don't know if I've said this out loud anywhere. Everyone's playing the same character.
Yeah, I think you mentioned it on Discord. Yeah.
So everyone will be like, and this is just an example. This is not set in stone. I'll let the players decide who that character is to come to consensus. But let's say everyone's Peter Parker from your own multiverse. So we'll all decide what the common denominator point is, and then after that, we all have to come up with what our differential point is, meaning what's the common thing we all have in common as Peter Parker? Did we all lose Uncle Ben? Or was it that we lived with our aunt and uncle? What is it that makes Peter Parker Peter Parker? And then what was the thing that made us different from Peter Parker? And it's kind of like I was like, so what if someone was like, oh, I'm Peter Parker, but I'm a Skrull who took over Peter Parker's life? Or it's, hey, I was Peter Parker, but I didn't get bit by a spider. I was recruited into the Nova Corps. So I became Nova rather than Richard Rider. Maybe Richard Rider became Spider-Man. You know, like I'm, and it's the kind of that. Like I love the idea of like taking a linchpin character of the Marvel universe, but utilizing the fact that there are more worlds than can count. Because even when they tried to knock that down during Secret War, what did they end up doing? Well, at the end of Secret War, Reed and his family were creating multiverses and shooting them off into the infinite. Franklin was just like, and I want a multiverse that looks like this, and I want a multi. I fucking love that. Like, to me, that's such a Marvel thing to do.
Can everybody be a bagman?
No, but I mean, yeah, we could definitely. I have ideas for a bagman.
Just kidding.
Dick Riderman is kind of great.
Actually, Ben.
Richard Rider, aka Dick Rider's pretty good.
Dick Rider.
But I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Thinking about it. So coming back to the world, do I come back in the new form or do I come back in my original form?
The original.
Oh, okay.
That's another point. That your ending was truly an ending.
Okay.
That's like a closed loop. That was Basana giving you all your dream to become. Was really, in all honesty, that's her giving you your dream, and then that world ended.
Then I will
so
have
you have to live a whole life inside of a dream.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then I will say, like, since I don't really have to take a lot of time thinking about it, I can tell you she would change into someone very tall.
My thought was, and I was going to say it, but I didn't want you to be like.
I was thinking it was going to be a permanent change. I was like, I need more time to think about a permanent change. But
was that she just turned into her barbarian self?
Ooh.
She just permanently became.
That's probably a good idea.
Big thick McLady.
Probably what she would have done.
So if you guys want to play, if any three want to play in it, you have dibs. And I'll tell you now, you all have dibs going forward on any miniseries. The second miniseries I'm going to run is Hellboy, which is a 5e game. It's 5e with just a few additional things. And that is going to revolve around which is a real thing. There were these things during the Cold War that the Soviets called science cities, because they would put scientists in these cities, and basically that way they could control things. Like, oh, you guys aren't meeting what we need from you. Okay, less food rations for you and your family, and in this city we're putting you in. Coupled with the story of in 1978, a Russian scientist got shot in the head with a particle accelerator and lived. It's real. It's fucking wild. It is a wild true story. Look it up. It is, whoo! But those are the building blocks for a story of the BPRD being asked by the Russian version of the BPRD, which name escapes me right now, to send agents because there's an issue in one of their science cities. Also, if you're not a Hellboy reader, at that point in time, the leader of the Russian version of the BPRD was a 12-year-old girl who may or may not be the daughter of the Baba Yaga.
Oh.
Hellboy, baby. And you'll, of course, be BPRD agents getting to go to Russia.
I'd more likely be in for Hellboy over Marvel.
As I was saying before we started, though, I will say if anyone wants to look at the Marvel Multiverse game, let me know. I have a digital copy. Happy to share. And what I found as I'm going through it and I'm watching some actual play stuff of it, it's just D&D with some minor changes. Like no 20-sided dice, instead 3 6-sided dice, with one being a different color because that's your Marvel dice. But you've got advantage, disadvantage, all that. You've got saving throws. You've got 6 stats. You've got initiative. It's pretty much the same. You've got an equivalent of inspiration. The other thing I'm trying to figure out with it is ranks, because the rank system is like, if you want to play a rank 6 game, that means it's cosmic. So a rank 6 thing is like Thor level shit. A rank 1 stuff is like Night Nurse stuff. So I'm trying to figure out a formula to have a team where it's like, oh, if you want to do rank 4, you can have like one rank 5 person and then one rank 1. It's just you have to have the numbers to even out. Because I think when I was thinking of it, I was trying to figure out how that would work because I was like, well, the Avengers aren't all the same rank.
Right.
You've got a Hawkeye and you've got Beast, but you've also got Thor. And sometimes you have Hyperion and the Hulk, and on the same team with like Shang-Chi. It's some wonky shit, and I love it. So those are the 2 miniseries games upcoming. Next Monday, Star Wars, Hidden Path, and that's gotten to be extremely fun. And it's a good time. Oops, All Century, yeah. Bob. And then the week after that, Chaos Scar. So I would say anybody who Chaos Scar, I think, and I'll talk to you, Ryan and Cassandra, I would like to do like a narrative of what happened, because I really want to get back to Chaos Scar being like the session starts when you leave town, the session ends when you come back to town.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So my thought is kind of we collaborate on what happened in those 60 days between, because I have an idea on how Tiburon survives the Feywild and escapes.
Okay.
And I have an idea of what happens with Amulet and those kids
not Amulet.
I'm sorry,
Dianthus.
Dianthus and those kids who survive a storm that lasts 45 days.
Oh, and I got a level up thing to surprise you with then too. Then,
especially since Jehoshaphat Shanks, what was it called? His portable hearth.
Yeah.
Portable hearth only can run for 16 hours straight, and then it has to be off for 8 hours. So,
yes. But do you want to know something fun?
Sure.
See if I can find my note. Hold on. I'm working on my note. Where'd it go?
Yes, Anatoly Burgoski. I don't know who put that in the chat, but thank you.
Who's Anatoly Burgoski?
He's the Russian scientist who got shot in the head with a particle accelerator.
Yeah, that was the private
that
chat.
was
I
that guy.
Link in the Twitch one.
It's wild to think that happened to a human being.
Right.
And then he lived and is still alive, I think.
Oh.
He might still be alive, or if he died, it was only not too long ago.
No, he is 82.
Yeah. You got shot in the head with a supercharged particle and nothing really happened.
Ben, I now have something called fungal infestation.
Get that checked out.
Diane, this one rhymes with Pawn or Darty. That's amazing. Not too dark. That's great.
I got fungal infestation, so I can animate things now. So I may be animating some things to help us out.
That's cool. I like that. So I got stuff planned. If anyone wants to come on Prep School at any point and talk more about it, or on this upcoming Sunday, we're talking about stuff we're going to do for Extra Life.
Cool.
We've already started coming up with ideas. In fact, there's something going on that's going to be called Soup Troop.
Soup Troop.
Rather than Spoop Troop, Soup Troop.
Interesting.
Don't you be making that Arby's soup?
You know it's bad when ordinary sausage is like, yeah, this is terrible. I point half out of 5.
What was the one he made that was actually good? Like he was like, this is great.
The McDonald's meal.
Was it a McDonald's meal?
Yeah, he did a whole like value meal, pop included.
I thought it was like White Castle or something.
No, it was McDonald's.
Okay.
He also tried to microwave an apple this week for 15 minutes, 30 minutes, and an hour. Because normally he puts stuff in an oil for 15 minutes, and half hour and an hour, but the apple almost burned down his microwave under 15 minutes, and he was like, "Yeah, no." And then he's like, "Well, I should take a bite of this for science." And then he bent into it and he was like, this is really fucking terrible. So anyway, I just want to say, well, first of all, where can people find all you lovely folks?
You can find me here next Tuesday. Sometimes I post on the social medias. That's at Cubicle Zombie. So maybe it's there. That's about it.
Oh well, you
Did I
can't
say
find me.
next Tuesday?
Yeah,
It's
you
like,
said next Tuesday. I was
it's
thinking about that, and I was
it's
like,
next Monday. I don't know how days work. This happened last time too.
I don't know how days work either.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't done this very often. Apparently, I just forget days.
I thought maybe you were doing something special with James Group or something.
No, I am not. It's Monday. Monday for Star Wars.
That's
Now
too
I'm done.
funny.
Monday's a Star Wars day. It's for the Star Boys.
Star Boys.
No.
Oh no. Okay, flashbacks to Nasty Boys coming out of the basement. No, not Nasty Boys.
Tasty. Oh.
Yeah,
Tasty Boys, but also
Tasty
now
Boys.
also Nasty
Tasty
Boys
Boys.
as well.
Yeah,
Nasty Boys.
so much.
Nasty Boys is the best. Paul
Jack
Nasty movies
Mr.
rule.
Nasty.
Anyways,
Call
Yes,
me Paul.
James. We do special stuff, just not on the internet.
Call,
Well, yeah,
call,
on the
call,
internet.
call
You
me
gotta monetize.
call me Paul if you're Nashy.
If you're doing special stuff, you gotta monetize. Just saying.
All right, now I'm done.
It's okay, Nate, because I'm Cassandra and you can't find me anywhere. So
Except
we're good. Except
you for even thinking of trying to find me.
Don't even think about it. Just don't think about it. You're never gonna find me. It's
How
fine. I am
dare you.
hide and seek champion, is what it is. So, but I will
This
be
is
here.
why I love her so much, because it's like Mountain Monsters except for at home.
I know, because it's been a challenge. I will be here
It's-
in 2 weeks for Chaos Car, but yeah, there's that.
I'm Warrior. You can find me online at Warrior MN. And except on Blue Sky, where I'm Warrior.
Just worry.
You can also find me here when things are happening on Mondays. So do that. I'm delightful.
You are delightful.
Yes.
that's the
Well,
truth.
We can all, yeah, we agree. All delightful.
That's all. That's my report.
It has been my absolute delight and pleasure to play this game with my friends, and tell a big, weird story, and to like have Duke Walters make music, and to have all these people come in and out and contribute, whether it's like Shannon Richard or whether it's prep school. I just want to say thank you, because as like weirdly personal as the Domains of Dread was, this has been like a very much a labor of a labor of like gleeful, like Time Bandits-esque good Time Bandits, not that bullshit remake, good Time Bandits-esque absurdity, but also really personal in some spots. And again, this doesn't go away. It just goes quiet for a little while, and it'll be back because there's still stories to tell with you guys if you want to, or other people who want to come in and you know, be a part of that. So thank you very much, everyone who watched it, contributed. Prep school crew, I'm talking to you, Shaggy, Spike, James, Matt, Colin, Mitch. Just thank you guys. It means an awful lot to share telling stories together, and I really, really, really appreciate it. And whether you're seeing this now at the end of me blubbering, or you see it in the future of me blubbering, I hope you had fun, because we certainly did. So for the last time for a while, thank you. Also, I'm not crying. You're crying.